Well, in that case, why don't we just go straight into the game here with game number 1 on Fighting Spirit, of course, a best of 3 between ZancCo and Keniji.
Let's go.
All right. Okay, looks like at the top left we will have the Yellow Terran, who's apparently called Bounded. That actually solves all of my problems then. I'm just going to call him Bounded. I don't know why he's called Keniji in the replay name, but there you go. And of course his opponent, the Orange Protoss, at the bottom left will be ZancCo.
Okay, so I think, am I understanding this correctly? This is the first game that we actually get that there is a Protoss. Right?
No. The first game, the Protoss beat Zaraki.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it's the first PvT though. It's definitely the first PvT.
Because the thing is, PvT is actually my favorite matchup. So.
Ah, nice.
And it's also the only matchup that I can like legitimately say that I understand always what's going on. So it's always a good thing.
See, now you say that, but you're gonna regret saying that when what's his name? Bounded goes for like a Ghost Rush or something.
Well, I mean, if he goes for a Ghost Rush, then I would do what I did before, which is reserve my judgment until he wins or loses, you know?
But you would have no idea what was going on.
I mean, not really, but I pretend that I do.
Dude, I've been nuke rushed on Icy Bladder before and like almost lost at C rank. It was so sad. And the thing, because I think basically, right, I was listening to really loud music while I was playing, so I didn't hear the nuclear launch detected. But when I moused over my natural to send my probes to mine, I thought I saw a red dot from the ghost, but in my mind I was like, that doesn't make sense. Why would there be a red dot from a ghost there? So I just completely ignored it, and like 5 seconds later, all the probes died, and I was like, huh, there was actually a red dot there.
Yeah, that's I think what they call having preconceived conceptions about what you think the world should be, and you're like, huh, because it doesn't make sense. That's not true.
You just ignore it.
Yeah.
I was just like, nope, there's no red dot here. I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, to be fair, there are some players out there that are really high skilled and they play with these Smurf accounts and they do crazy stuff. And when you see that, like for example, I don't remember, maybe you remember this guy called Mistr?
Mr.
It was
Z?
published.
ZZZ?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one. And he used to do things like, for example, play PvZ and he would go scouts.
Yeah.
Right? And you know, if you've never seen that, and somebody does that to you, you're like, scouts, come on, man. And then suddenly the guy actually knows what he's doing, and he wins.
Yep.
So, yeah, I kind of get what you're saying about the ghost thing.
Yep. I mean, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Just to be clear, I totally won that game, but I think he was just messing with me. I think he was like a high-level Smurf who's just trolling. Anyway.
I mean, I gotta say that sometimes you get really good trolling ideas, but they don't always work, and when they work, you feel like a genius. So, it's kind of a trade-off, you know, you lose like 20, 30 games, but the one that it works, that's the one that counts.
That's the one you make a highlight reel of? It's just like,
Exactly.
You only show people that game. You're like, look at me, I'm a genius.
That's kind of like dating, right? If you date and it's not going too well, you're gonna remember the one that went well. You're not gonna remember all the ones that went really poorly.
Oh my god. Do we have some personal experience going on here?
Oh, come on, man. Don't go there.
Oh god. Alright, anyway, SCV getting into the base here, pursued by a Dragoon. This SCV is not going to have any more dating experience because it's about to die. But
Well, it's
maybe
dating
for
a
the best.
right now, but it's a bad date.
It is. It's the worst kind of date. You know, it's like, you know, you're going to meet a girl for the first time, and as soon as you walk up to her, she shoots you with a phase disruptor. It's like, yeah, it's probably not going to end well.
Well, if the girl that you're gonna date is a Dragoon, you probably can expect something weird, right?
Dude, Dragoons have feelings too, man. Dragoons need love.
Okay, so let's see. It's going to be so far 1 gate range, and the SCV so far only saw that there is no hidden pylons, so you don't really make too much out of that, but you can definitely at least assume that this is not a very heavy commitment to Dragoons. You can assume that if it's going to be a DT or a Reaver, it's going to come a little bit later, so...
Yeah. I mean, this is pretty cool, actually, because both players are doing very, very standard macro builds, so we have plenty of time to talk about random stuff like dating Dragoons, and it doesn't even matter. Nobody's gonna die.
Okay, I want to ask you one thing, though, about the game. You see this, right? When you see this kind of style of the Terran going for this, you know, the Marines, the tank, and probably an expansion, how do you decide whenever you want to go for, like, double expansion, or whenever you want to go for something like Observers or Reavers?
Well, double expansion is pretty much never safe. Because even if the Terran fast expands, you can easily go like just 4-fact and attack you, and it's very difficult to actually defend that. Hold that thought. Going for the siege tank. He needs one more shot. It's 17 HP. One more Dragoon shot. We'll take it. And the Dragoon lady, shoots him with a phase disruptor, and he dies. The tank has a terrible date and is now dead for it. But the Dragoons are now stuck.
Two ladies died.
Oh my god. Oh my god. The Marines. It's actually really bad. He should have ran those away along the top side. He actually just stop the fight. Oh, he's doing the fancy micro. He's doing the fancy micro.
That's not good. That's not good for ZancCo, dude. He's actually bleeding out Dragoons, and one Vulture is actually can give you a lot of trouble if you don't have like 3 or 4 Dragoons to kind of stop it before it gets to the main.
The lucky thing is it used 2 of its mines already. Could you imagine if it saved all 3 mines and just ran into the base? That'd be really good. But it looks like gonna get taken out here with a reinforcement Dragoon. So bit of an interesting trade-off there. Losing the first tank as a Terran is really, really bad, but so is losing your first few Dragoons. I think, what was that, 3 Dragoons dead? Or 2 Dragoons dead? I mean, either way, 2 Dragoons for a tank, I mean, I'd say that's pretty even then, and we do have the Observatory. So, going back to what you were saying before, I think going for, 1 gate expand into Observers and another couple of gateways is pretty much the standard safe thing to do. Going for a double expand is really not safe, even if you know the Terran's being greedy, unless you know he's going for like the super fast third, which Terrans often do on Fighting Spirit.
But you have no way of knowing that.
Exactly. So I don't think it's ever like a very good thing to do, unless you have some kind of like mind read on the guy, you know how he plays. So I think what Protoss is doing right now is very good.
Yeah, I was thinking because I used to remember that in the old days, one of the builds that went kind of underused by lower, like very good players, but not top tier players, was 1 gateway robo obs to double expansion. Because basically with the Observer, you had enough information to know exactly when to cut probes. You would know exactly pretty much everything that you need to know. So it was relatively safe to even go for double nexus. But it seems to be falling out of fashion. Most nowadays don't really like this kind of stuff.
I guess it's just a little bit too easy for the Terran to abuse it if he scouts it, because even if you have good information, you just don't have enough units to cover everything. So let's say the Terran just decides to spam a whole bunch of Vultures with mines and just run around, and it's just really annoying to deal with. The thing is, like, the reason I actually even criticize this build is because I used to do it all the time, and so I know, like, you basically have no chance of stopping any kind of aggressive Terran, even just on 4-fact, as long as he plays it correctly.
The thing about the reason why I personally did like that build a lot is because it was the only build that I beated really good players with. The only one. No,
it's
really.
True.
I mean,
when
I played against like I don't know, Korean players on Fish and things like these, that was the only build that I ever won good games against Terrans. Every single other one, I just didn't read them correctly. So I had that problem. But yeah, I agree what you're saying. If they're going a little bit, even if they don't have too many units, if they commit with like extra, let's say 4 SCVs, then suddenly it's 2 times as hard.
But you're absolutely right though, because it's a greedy, risky build. Like if you get away with a double expand, oh, it's the best thing ever, man. It feels so. You just have so much stuff coming out of your base. You're like, this economy, it's awesome. But then like every other game you die, and you're just like, oh, okay. All right, never mind. I guess it's like any kind of risky build.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what we have though. We do have an armory before any. I mean, the 3rd, and 4th factories coming up, and an armory and a 3rd. So it seems like to be going for the later stage of the game, probably a 2-1 attack. Although for the 2-1 attack, I believe that you want to be starting your, what was that? The
2nd armory.
Port. No, the port.
Oh, the port.
Because you want to have you don't want to have actually downtime on your +1 for the attack. If you have any downtime, then the push actually does hit a lot later.
You're absolutely right. I mean, basically it's going to be some kind of, turtle on 3 base and then go for a big timing at, 170 plus supply type thing. You know, just a huge attack to smack the Protoss and either do a big amount of damage or at least, you know, give you yourself a window to get a fourth base, because it's much more difficult to take the fourth. But it looks like gonna have a little bit of denial here from ZancCo. I don't think. Oh my God, there's the unsiege. Oh, because he has a shuttle. Oh my God, I did not realize he had a shuttle.
Nice cancel. That was actually pretty clutch reaction timing. Not only it saved the units, it's gonna lose just one depot and a barracks. That's it.
Is indeed.
That's good.
That's going to be really annoying for him, though, because he's got that command center just waiting to float over there, and he just can't quite get it over just yet. He does actually have enough units, maybe, to go over there. It's really tricky, though. You always got to be super careful.
The shuttle is the problem.
Yeah.
Because you need, I think it's 4 Goliaths to actually shoot it down before it can reach the tank line, and basically you use 4 Goliaths on one hotkey, and as soon as you spot the shuttle, you just go for it with the Goliaths, and everything else you can even forget about it.
Okay, I had no idea. That's a pretty cool number. Yeah.
Yeah, Flash used to do that a lot. He would make a fast armory, and then he would only add 4 Goliaths early on, and then from there he would play normally without Goliaths for a while.
Nice. And that's Goliaths without range, right? So no range.
Yes,
upgrade.
without. That's without. But you have to spot it early enough so that as soon as you have vision, your Goliaths have to actually move forward a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's actually enough, because most people will start to drop the Zealots before, because they don't want to lose the Zealots.
Yeah.
Which is actually a mistake, because then actually, by the time it reaches your tanks, even if it does, it's one Zealot, and all your shots from your own tanks already hit somewhere else. So you don't get your own unit splash.
That is a very interesting fact. I did not know, but definitely makes sense. And, well, that's a nice threat that the shuttle's providing there, but it looks like he has backed out, so the command center has lifted, or landed rather, at the 12 o'clock. Looks like just going to clear out the Vulture from the bottom right so he can take a fourth base now, and both players can tend to play the economic game.
And Arbiter Tech is already coming up for ZancCo, so he is smart enough to actually know that this is what's going on. So basically he identified that the turn is actually going to go for the turtle style for a while, and usually what you do against that, you have two options. You either deny the bases and you keep fighting, you keep trading and keep expanding, or you go for the tech and you try to win in the middle of the fight actually when it does happen.
Yeah, absolutely right. Meantime, well, we got the science facility on the way, as you said. Doesn't want too much downtime. Looks like his +1 did finish though, so a little bit of downtime on the upgrade, but the facility should be done soon. I don't see a second armory though, so not quite going for the 2-1 timing, but yeah, it's gonna have decent upgrades nonetheless, and obviously that comfortable 3-base economy. Now the question is, you know, when is he gonna feel comfortable moving out? So he's at 126 supply now. We'll have to see when he decides to move out, when to start pressuring the Protoss. I mean, he's not doing any drops or anything, so the Protoss is also having free time to expand right now.
I would assume that by the time he moves, it's probably going to be in the 140s to the 150s. I don't think he's going to wait a lot longer, because it's common for most players who play Terran that when you reach to that point, you're starting to realize that if I don't move now, I wait for 200. You can see already he's moving from from his third some units.
Yep. Good call.
I mean, I think that's the moment, because you can move these tanks forward and then you just reinforce with the vultures.
And the best thing about this is actually he's very close on supply to the Protoss. He's only 4 supply behind, and the Arbiter tech is not quite ready. The Stasis is not quite done researching. I don't think the first Arbiter is even done, right? That's the first Arbiter in the Stargate. So that's, even if that finishes, that needs time to build up energy, and then even if it has energy, it only has 1 Stasis. So this is actually the perfect time to go. He's just hit 165 now. Is he going to go? Everything is unsieged. He needs to just go.
That's the thing. You see, I would assume that he would go quite a move a lot earlier, but it seems he's making more tanks, and that can be weird, because if you're making so many tanks, then you're making a 1-move push. Yeah. That means if that gets surrounded and killed, that's probably it.
That is very true. Oh, looks like gonna grab the observer at the front. Nice.
Yeah. That's quite important. You definitely don't want the Protoss to know, because you see that the Protoss already is moving some of his units from his 4th to try to get all his army together. Usually you don't want to allow the Protoss to know that you're moving out until you're pretty much next to their bases.
Yep.
And because of that, you do want to move first the vessel and a few Goliaths forward to kill those observers.
That is absolutely right. Meantime, the Dragoon's walking around just trying to get a gauge where the army is. The second observer suicides, doesn't really see anything because the Goliaths are standing in front, but Terran still hasn't moved out, so definitely just going to wait for that maxed out army before moving out. He's actually building a lot of anti-recall defense here. You can see a lot of turrets and mines, but recall hasn't even been researched yet. It's only about halfway researched right now, so no threat of that just yet, but I guess when he moves out, he doesn't want to get backstabbed by those arbiters. He really should leave something to provide vision here, at least maybe a vessel as well, to really be completely safe.
Yeah, I mean, he's moving an eBay right now to the position where you would usually go for the arbiter to recall, but
okay.
The problem because of him waiting so long, basically, you look. The main problem is that right now ZancCo is actually taking extra gateways at his 5th.
Yeah.
That's the thing that you really don't want to let happen. I mean, sure, you can handle arbiters. They're not easy to deal with, but you can handle that. But once you get 2 bases with gateways, that's when you, especially on 3 bases. I mean, Bounded hasn't taken a 4th, and he hasn't moved out. So
yeah,
again,
the timing is basically now. I mean, he's maxed. Now's the time. It's max on max. Let's see who has the better army. Now, in theory. Yeah, in theory, the Terran max army should be the Protoss, obviously barring any catastrophic stasis or anything like that, and it's, you know, somewhat dependent on the spells, but in general, the Terran army is way, way, way stronger. But, as you said, if the Protoss gets those gateways at the second the second main here, they can remax so quickly that they can just reinforce like crazy and out-attrition you in the long run. So here we go, let's see what happens.
Okay, and also there's one last thing. Let's see how ZancCo engages, because most of the Protoss, if they're good, they fight until most of the Zealots are dead, then they pull off and allow a few more Zealots to die to take a hit, because they make Zealots and they make very fast. So if ZancCo commits with his army and loses the Dragoons, that's it.
That is absolutely right. Not only do the Zealots make fast, but they run super fast as well, so they can basically just zip straight from the gateways to the front line while the battle's still going on. But hold that thought. Here's the big engagement. The Protoss army is actually in a funny position. He didn't realize the army was moving out. He has no idea the army is going to show up on his doorstep, and he actually went for a recall in the 3rd base. The main army is completely scattered. He went for the recall, so this could be some kind of base trade situation. Recall the 12. The Terran army's busting down the natural. There's nothing here to stop it. The rest of the units actually going down towards the bottom right. This is going to be a very weird situation now for both players.
The 3rd is going to fall for the Terran, but the problem is he doesn't have anything else. I mean, he has only a natural and a main. At the same time, if the Terran kills the natural and then moves like 2 tanks to the satellite bases and doesn't push to the main, he can do a lot of damage very quickly. But most Terrans get, again, tunnel vision, they try to kill the main, and that seems what Bounded is trying to do. That's not the right move at this point. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. 2 tanks just sieging from the low ground can be so efficient, and all the good, Korean players will definitely be doing that. But, it does require a lot of multitasking, and also, you have to understand the player's mental state. In these kinds of situations, you're sort of semi-panicking, you're not really, it's kind of a very chaotic situation, so you don't think clearly. Even if you know the correct move, like theoretically, when you're actually in the game situation, it just, you just completely forget about it.
Okay, yeah, well, for example, what the Terran is doing right now, which is kind of like trying to leave some units on the main, that's definitely not what you want to do, because you're going to get overwhelmed in the main.
Yep. And there's not even any detection here, so the Dragoon is just taking these down for free.
Yeah, because he's focusing on the 6 o'clock.
And, well, he at least gets a few free DTs over here, but the units in the main are completely gone, and there's a lot. Remember, the recall only recalled, not even half the main army. So the rest of the ground army is ready to flank these units. It looks like they might just be waiting for an Arbiter or something. The Arbiter's coming in. It does have energy for stasis, or even potentially like a recall of Zealots on top of the tanks. But here we go. He's going in. The tanks are actually mostly unsieged. He can just stasis the back line. There we go. A huge stasis on 5 tanks.
That's a nice stasis.
And that is going to be it for the Terran army. I think the Zealots all up in the siege tanks' faces. Whew.
I mean, okay, the Terran missed his window a little bit, so that's not surprising, but...
Oh, we have a tank drop at the bottom right, but... Well, actually, they killed a decent amount of probes. Looks like 11 kills between those 2 tanks.
Yeah, but at this point, I think ZancCo actually wants to kill probes.
Well, how much does he have banked?
He has 63 probes right now. So before he lost them, he probably had quite a lot.
That is fair enough, but it looks like actually the Terran wants to save the units coming out of stasis. This is one thing you have to be careful of as a Protoss. Just because you stasis units, it doesn't mean they're dead already. They can still shoot you when they come out. And it looks like this one tank actually that was stasis is going to survive despite everything.
With 3 HP, and it's going to die to a cannon? No. Maybe? If that dies to a cannon, I'm going to be a sad panda.
No,
okay, it didn't.
It is going to be the hero tank. And it looks like despite missing his window a little bit, the Terran is actually still making good with the remnants of his army. Still
some damage, but he really needs to expand, like right now.
Oh my god, that's true. Oh my god, he's mined out. He's completely mined out.
Just float SEC, dude. Or both of them.
I think he should actually at this point. Although it's not like he can actually secure the top right, so maybe that wouldn't do too much. Meanwhile, the Protoss, even though he's hurting, is at least still mining very happily from the bottom right.
He's hurting, but he's at 183 supply. I mean, I'd like to hurt that much.
Nice, nice. Well,
nope. I gotta say though, Bounded had a very good build originally. He actually had the right kind of macro. If he just knew that he had to push a little bit earlier, he would have a really legitimate shot at this. So this is not like it's a little bit one-sided, but that's only because Bounded like missed this window. If he knows that, he watches this, like for example this replay before playing the next game.
Yep.
I think he's gonna make the same mistake again.
That's an excellent point actually. I don't know if he'll have time though to watch the replay, even maybe just time 16 it really quickly. But I guess we'll see if he makes an adjustment. Next game, yeah, I completely agree with you. You know, he was looking fine there for a long time, just waited a little bit too long here. And another thing to note, by the way, is aside from, you know, theoretically, what's the best time to move out, also think mechanically. The larger the army is, the more difficult it is to control, especially a Terran mech army. You gotta think about sieging the tanks not too clumped together. You gotta spread, put the spider mines in front. Looks like there's a recall in the main. And, you know, it's just really, really difficult to control a maxed out Terran army. So moving out fast earlier actually makes it easier.
You know, I do agree with you that it's a lot harder, but it's also a lot... It's harder in term that you have to move more units, but it's a lot easier if you, like, siege a little bit late. Because it's such a massive, like, clump of army that, I don't know, 5 extra tanks in siege mode suddenly make a huge difference when you... So, the thing is, you can make smaller like mistakes on when to siege. When obviously you can make big ones, but you can make smaller mistakes when you have a bigger army. But as you said, it's very difficult, especially when the Protoss is trying to stall, to actually unsiege everything. You know, then move down, then put mines again. That's the really big problem.
Yeah, yeah. So a bit of a trade-off there. Anyway, I think we're sort of waiting for the Terran to make his final stand here. He's at 103 supply against a maxed out Protoss. 0 map control. He's only mining from the 12, and that's because it was killed earlier, so he's still got some minerals there. But, you know, it's one base against a bunch. And looks like we might have another big attack. Whoa! Nice big stasis on the back there, on the rally point, basically.
Wow. I didn't even see that Arbiter coming from the top.
And GG from Bounded. ZancCo takes game number 1.
Yeah, and I gotta say, pretty well played by him. If he made any mistakes, I mean, they were like theoretical mistakes, right? They weren't something that you'd say, oh, he, I don't know, forgot like 20 zealots. No, it was just basically if maybe you knew, or maybe something like that. So it's not really. It looks good for him, at least for now.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, cool stuff. So, well, let me get game.